Hello, Facebook. Happy Love Month. I am really excited because I have something really, really cool coming up because it is February. And as we all know, February is the month of Valentine's Day when we spend all our time celebrating our relationships and the people that we love most. And I love love. And I also happen to love journaling. And so to celebrate both of those things, I am giving the gift to you and your belle or beau of love journaling.
I wanna make you smile whenever you're sad. Carry you around when your arthritis is bad. All I wanna do is grow old with you. I'll get you medicine when your tummy aches. Build you a fire if the furnace breaks. Oh, it could be so nice growing old with you. I'll miss you, kiss you, give you my coat when you are cold. Need you, feed you, even let you hold the remote control. So let me do the dishes in our kitchen sink. Put you to bed when you've had too much to drink. Oh, I could be the man who grows old with you.
That's such a nice Valentine-y February love song. And this is Agree or Disagree, the podcast. Welcome. I am Kevin Olenek. This is the controversial podcast that pushes you to think differently and connects you with your community. We will be doing this every Wednesday. We are currently on Facebook Live with Kevin Olenek. You can also like Agree or Disagree, the podcast on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter at KEVOLE, SoundCloud.com, KEVOLE, Spreaker.com, KEVOLE, where this audio is currently being recorded. You can also subscribe on my YouTube channel, Kevin Olenek. And this is a historic moment for us on Facebook Live because this is the first interview that I've ever done. So, wow, congratulations. Today, of course, as you know, is Valentine's Day, and February is Love Month. And of course, the song, as I mentioned, is heard from the movie The Wedding Singer. Now, some of you out there have the amazing and natural ability to express love. It comes natural to you. You can write songs, poems, and reflections, and just, it pours out. Some of you, like me, would like to be better at it. Not only with their partner, but with their family, their friends. You want to say how much someone significant means to you, but you can't quite find the words. And maybe some, like myself, have missed the opportunity to say that important thing. But for whatever reason, it was too late. Or maybe some here have been in a relationship for a really long time. And through time and circumstances and real life, that sparky electric feeling of love has gone. And it's not that you don't love them, you just don't know how to express it. Today, we have the opportunity to learn to fall in love all over again. My guest today on Google Hangout is my friend Sarah Golby. And she's going to talk about something called love journaling. On her very own profile, she calls herself a blogger, speaker, and an unabashed journal nerd. Her mission is to be the adult 5-year-old me would be proud of. And it's good to have your own profile. But I often look what other people say about someone because that says a lot. And this was posted on Sarah's Facebook page today, and I would like to read it. You are a magnet. If you are in the room, you are like the human thermostat of awesomeness, and you are like an oasis in the desert you have been in so long you didn't even know that you were thirsty. Because as soon as you arrive in someone's life, that person lights up as if they just needed someone to come along and remind them how to have fun, how to use the dusty corners of their brain, and how to laugh, and how to be a person. Sarah, welcome.
Thank you so much, Kevin. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, I am also excited for you. So those on Facebook, if you actually have questions that we go through this, we're going to go through the process and then we'll take questions at the end. Unfortunately, I hope people can hear Sarah, which is great. I'm still learning this Facebook Live part, so, how to divide and split the screen. Haven't quite figured out or mastered yet on the old computer, but we'll get there. As their quote, as I said earlier, this is like be a scientist. This is like sciencing, right? So we're experimenting with stuff. So hopefully you love this. But yeah, I guess I'm want to know what this 5-year-old Sarah was like. I'm curious.
This is 5-year-old me. Was a pain, I'm certain my parents would describe me as. But I have always been such a curious person. I've always chased things in the world at large. I've wanted to explore. I've wanted to try new things constantly. I've wanted to create and do and be best doing it. And that I realized that I kind of lost touch with that for a large part of my adult life. I think that happens to a lot of us, right? We get that beaten out of us. We're told that being creative isn't valuable. We're told that there's no money in what we love, or there's no point in chasing what you're curious about because you'll never be good at it. And so I just one day decided that I had enough of that and I wanted more joy in my life. And so I decided that I wanted to be the adult that my 5-year-old self would think was really cool and would want to hang out with. So that is what I'm aiming for better or worse.
Awesome. I think that based on what people were sharing on your Facebook, that your 5-year-old self would be very proud of you at this point in time.
Well, thank you very much for saying that, Kevin. And I'm very lucky that it's Valentine's Day and there's all sorts of people throwing around amazing things all over Facebook. So I'm certain you got kind of the best quotes that you possibly could today.
Yes. And good news, there is a comment on Facebook Live that we can hear both fine and looking forward to this. So I'm wondering, in terms of sciencing, They might be on your Facebook as well. This is totally cool. This is really awesome. Okay. So tell us, how did you get into this idea of love journaling? Is this your original idea, or did this come up with someone else, or tell us about it?
This is absolutely not my original idea. This is a tool that has been around for ages. Journaling of all sorts, journaling is something I truly love because I do credit it with enabling me to make a lot of changes very recently in my life. But it essentially is the way that we create reality around the thoughts that we have in our heads, right? We take what's rattling around between our ears, and the first step to bring reality to it is to put it down on paper, get it out of our heads, and look at it objectively. And you can apply that to just about anything in your life, and one of the more powerful ways to apply that is to take it and apply it to the love that you have and want to maintain, or the love that you maybe don't have and you want to build in your life. Because what's more powerful than love in this world, right?
Yes. So, what's the difference? So, I sense there may be people out there going, okay, but if I journal, isn't that kind of the same? Like, what's the difference between actual journaling and love journaling?
The difference, honestly, is in semantics. And for me, the love journal is... the point of it is to create essentially a storybook of your love for another person or for yourself, where that is the focus of the journal. You really take time and put intention behind making a practice of building love. And so at its basic level, let's say that you have a significant other, you would make a practice of, you have an alarm in your phone or a calendar reminder that goes off every day, and you sit down and you write 3 things that you are grateful for or love or respect about your partner. Okay. And we use that as a tool to reframe our brains, because we are so good at always focusing on the negative in life. But if we take time and intentionally put focus on the positive, energy flows and we start to show up and we start to notice that so much more, right? It's like doing affirmations or any other work. If we can reframe our focus onto that, it's always going to grow, right? So this is just a way of taking the general journaling practice and focusing it right in to build more love in your life.
So it's not like vomiting, really. It's like, okay, this is what I think of Bob or whoever, whatever, you know, a person, and focusing why you love that person specifically, and taking that time,
yes.
as opposed to the clouds were really cloudy today in Vancouver again, and there's no sun, and people are really depressed, and that person is just rambling. There's a focused intention to it.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so what you just described is stream of consciousness journaling, and that is a very powerful tool because you never quite know what's going to pop up for you, and you can discover some really cool things about yourself by doing that. But a lot of what we're doing in love journaling is reasons to journal if you really get down to it, and that is to remember and to discover. And what we're trying to do with love journaling is the remembering piece more so than the discovery piece. You, of course, can use it to discover why you love someone, or if you're single, to discover the things that you truly value and want to bring more of into your life. You have to become to really encourage that and draw that in. But in particular, if you're directing it to a partner, this can essentially become of your love for each other and a practice of a way to remember the little daily things that kind of slip through the cracks of time. And you can look back 20 years from now, or your grandkids can look through these books. I mean, how cool would it be to have these daily life of your grandfather and grandmother and how they loved each other actively every day?
It's like the real life
right?
notebook. Yeah. Almost.
Yeah, like a real life notebook.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be full of grand gestures. It can just be, you have 5 laugh lines and I think they're really cute. It can be all these grand romantic things, and it all depends on the person and how you show up and how you love each other. Each love journal is going to be different.
So you're in a relationship now, and did you start this process before you were in this relationship, before you started dating? Or was this something that you had?
I started it after.
After, okay. So how did this change your relationship? Or your perspective of your relationship?
This has been such a powerful piece for our relationship. I've done a couple love journals, and I just started a new one because we changed in our relationship, and we got engaged.
Woo!
So... yeah, so I have just actually started a new journal to kind of, here's the new start of our relationship. But when I very first did a love journal, it was a very, very basic thing. I just took what was handiest to me, and I made a list of 100 things that I loved about him. Drew little pictures, and I just sat there and I brain dumped. And then every day for the next 15 days, it was Thanksgiving. I was doing it as kind of a gratitude gift for him for Thanksgiving, because normally we don't make a big deal about Thanksgiving. I decided I was going to change that. Recorded all of these little things, and then I gave it to him, and he's a lot like you, Kevin. You mentioned that you have trouble expressing love and kind of finding the words to put behind it. And he struggles with that too, but just to see how much that mattered to him and he could see the effort and time and love behind it was a game changer for us. So I completely recommend it. And it came at a time when we were just coming out of that kind of infatuation honeymoon phase and moving into the more comfortable phase. Kind of be a rocky transition, and that I truly think helped smooth that over. So
yeah. Does he do it?
He does not. He does leave me little notes occasionally, but like I said, he struggles with the words, so he's very much more of an acts of service sort of person. So he shows me he loves me by turning on the seat warmers when he starts my truck in the morning and cooking breakfast for me while I'm meditating and that. So.
Oh, you sound like you got a quality human being that you're engaged to. Congratulations on
I'm pretty proud of him.
Yes.
Thank you.
So, Okay, maybe let's talk about the single folk, because I'm a single folk. And, not that I'm advertising on my own podcast that I'm single. It doesn't really, that's not what this is about. That's a whole other, anyway. How, would this be a good, suggest this exercise what I could do, or those that are single out there could do on this that would help them get started on this? What do you think?
Yeah. So when you're single, I mean, for any of us, the biggest challenge is always starting. So I always recommend, if you pick up a journal, just wreck a page, like rip it out. You own messages aren't going to intimidate you. Right. Aside from that, if you're single and you are looking to bring more love into your life, what you want to focus on in your love journal isn't necessarily going to be like, you did this amazing thing for me today. What you want to start your journal with is you really want to get down to the brass tacks of who you want to attract into your life. And what you want to focus on, I'm not talking about that laundry list.
Right, not
must be 5'10".
Yeah.
Must have brown eyes.
Yeah.
Go away from the physical attributes as much as possible. Or
focus on the real personality part.
Yes, yeah. The stuff that, like the good stuff, the juicy bits. Most of that. You can make a list of your must-nots, the absolute deal breakers for you.
Right.
A smoker. Must not lie. Whatever those are for you. It's different for every person. But the key is that list way smaller than the must-haves. Because again, where our attention goes, energy flows, we want to focus on the good. You don't want, that's all you're going to see.
Yeah.
So it's about focusing on what you want to draw in. The list you're going to make is, who do you need to become, or how do you need to change in order to measure up to what you're asking for?
Right.
And then what we want to do is the daily practice around that is kind of tracking how you show up for yourself, how you're loving yourself, building those habits and characteristics so you can become the person loving the one that you most want.
That's been a really interesting thing that you brought about loving yourself, because I was reading there was a really intelligent posts today and videos, and a lot of people talking about the idea of loving themselves and because this day has always been about romance and chocolate and flowers, and feeling like this is one specific day where we gotta just brain dump on that. And if you don't have that person, that significant other, you're tending to, you kind of feel a bit lonely, and you feel less about yourself because you're not participating in this conversation. So I really think I would imagine this would be something that you can do as a great exercise for yourself. Like, why do you love yourself? Because I am, and we don't live in a world where there's a lot of compliments to each other, except apparently if you're in Calgary's Achievement Club, but that's a whole other entire point. Right?
You get this plug free, Aaron Sky Kelly, but the next one you owe Kevin for.
That's right, actually. Yes. Yes. That's right, Aaron, if you're listening or watching at any point. That's one freebie. Well, I probably owe her more. But yeah, I think that's something that seems to be really important, is that idea of bringing that love to yourself, and probably even in a relationship which I'm not in. Sometimes you feel like you have maybe failed your partner in some way. I don't want to use the word failed, but in your mind, you're kind of the negative thoughts. It allows that to kind of bring that out and put in some more of that positive energy that you were talking about earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true, right? Because there's a lot of research behind that, actually, and I research to A, bore you, and B, I can't remember the specific papers and stuff, so I'll just get it all jumbled anyway. But there's so much negativity in the world with the way our news is presented to us, with the way we interact, so many people to each other solely by complaining and kind of bonding over that negativity. And so the more that you can incorporate telling, affirmations are a really powerful way of doing that, which is kind of what you said. Every day you write down 5 things, or you have 5 things that you say to yourself on a continual basis that you know to be true or you want more of in your life. So for me, one of my affirmations is vibrant magnetic personality. People are irresistibly drawn to me and want to help me reach my goals for myself. And then that changes how I show up for just how the world kind of shows up for me. Wow. So love journal, the more that we focus on all the little things, like Dan turning on the truck when he starts it, most of that slips through the cracks. But because I notice that when I'm journaling, it's something that now matters so much more to me, and I feel that love when I notice that he's hit that button. It's just a way of choosing to be complacent and let it all slide and kind of ride that wave. You usually get a little bit stagnant, right? There's 3 choices. You can say yes, you can do nothing, or you can say no. Right. And in the beginning of any relationship, we say yes a lot, and we're constantly building that, and then we level out. And we kind of let it just do whatever it wants to do. Well, the more that you can consciously choose to say yes, you're just going to keep climbing higher and higher. And that goes for self-love, it goes for relationships, it goes for anything, right? So just putting that intentionality behind it.
Yeah. Now let's talk about, and that's all very true. And it's so interesting that you said, Meg, that one of your mission statements is about magnetic, and then Aaron, second free plug, Aaron, talked about on that Facebook post that you're a magnetic person, and the one that I read. Isn't that weird? Interesting.
Yeah. Show up for you.
What's that?
It starts to show up for you.
It does. It's true. What about those that have gotten out of a really tough relationship, whatever it is? So, like, it's a divorce, it's a long-term relationship, things like that. It's ended in some form of heartbreak. What are your thoughts on how they could?
I think that the real key in those situations is you want to refrain from staying in that negativity, the failure that often accompanies that, and you want to reframe and focus on the lessons and the positive things that have come from that relationship, kind of almost thanking the other person in the best way you can, or taking stock of happened to me again. So the more that you can take failure and reframe that as a lesson that you're going to have toward, and the less feeling of failure you're going to have in yourself, and the more it's going to empower you to kind of up and go and find something way better than what you just lost. So
Right. So it's redirecting, and then even in that case, even in the case where, like, I would imagine if there was a child and then there's a separation of some kind, it still places the value on that person, even though, and we talked about this today earlier on my Facebook, the agree or disagree of, can you love someone without liking them? That kind of allows for that to happen, really, because you can still see the positive. It just didn't work in the way that you thought that it would.
Yeah. You can still value that human being as a human. They may have done bad things, but that doesn't mean that they're a terrible person and you need to treat them with toxicity, right? You can rise above and take from it what you can, and especially if, like you said, there's children involved, right? There's example and foster as much love in what remains of that relationship as you can for the children's sake. So
now, before we get into what you're offering with these, you've talked about, I know that you talked about this at One Achievement Club Transformation Weekend in Banff, another free plug. But I remember there was, for those that know Sarah, you might have saw the picture of her with all of these journals all over the hotel room, and she's just sitting there and writing. So you've taught about these before. Do you have any success stories or things that have happened because of this gift that you're sharing?
Yeah, actually, of course, my own. Like I said, I have made a lot of really intentional changes in the last month and a half. Like, my life has completely flipped. And a lot of that is because I took the time to create reality around the visions I had in my mind by writing them down, which is a practice that I know, Kevin, you've done before too. You've written down your goals. You've gone through that process. Mm-hmm. So we take that and we build on it, and we start to create almost more of an ongoing practice around that throughout the year. So we start creating almost like a living vision board. And once you marry that goal setting piece and creating reality around your visions with just a little dose of creativity, whatever that looks like for you. And before anybody starts going, I'm not creative, that is BS.
Yes, let's talk about that. Let's debunk the creativity. Because I never said in the introduction, if those that heard the introduction, I never said that nobody could do it. I said that some people have the natural ability. It feels like the natural ability to say stuff, like Adam Sandler and The Wedding Singer, or other musicians that you may know, and others don't. But that's not because of a creative ability. That's not because there's some people that are creative and some aren't. So let's dispel that myth. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And a lot of that, the difference in that is just a different love language or a different style of communicating, right? So yeah. I am a words of affirmation person. So all day I will post long, flowery love letters to whomever I'm dealing with. But other people, they're quality time or gifts or acts of service. So they would much rather take you for a coffee and have a face-to-face sit down or give you a big hug, right? So there's different strengths and weaknesses there. One of the biggest barriers I see to journaling, especially the style that I do, where I incorporate little bits of art and doodling and stuff like that to kind of unlock that inner 5-year-old, down, and they say that they're not creative. And what they actually mean is they're not talented at art. And there's ways around that. You just plagiarize it from the internet. I promise you. Just because you copy it doesn't mean it's not creative. You still created reality around your vision. That is the definition of creativity. You just aren't talented at art, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's not about...
We can get around that.
Yeah. It's because there's something out there that clicks, right? There's something, like as an example, I mean, I started this podcast with the Wedding Singer song. I never sung that, but I just found that to kind of fit, right? So that's, we can all be creative in different ways.
Yes.
Now we're not, you're not selling, by the way, don't sell the Wedding Singer as like your own creativity and that's your song, that's illegal. But, what we're talking about here is a bit different, right?
Yes. Yeah. I'm not telling you to go and take copyrighted material and frame it as your own.
Yes.
But I know that there is something very magical that happens when you take your future and add just a little bit of kind of that 5-year-old energy to it. And, even just cutting a picture you like out of a magazine and putting it in a journal and talking about what that means to you and how that feels.
Yeah.
Unlocks something in you, and it starts a momentum, and it's really, really cool to see the way that has helped people stay more engaged with their goals. Like, it's no longer just a line on a piece of paper that you or in a drawer somewhere and you never look at again. It is now something that it's beautiful for your mind, and it's fun for you to interact with, and it motivates you to $100 toward that debt, or make that list of 3 things you love about your spouse because you're so connected to how they make you feel, and right, start that podcast.
Yes. Well, no, that's right. I mean, I used the fancy dancy iPhone here and just for the, and just started, and now I'm sitting in a studio at the Vancouver Central Library recording. And, do we still have a long way to go? Yeah, but, it's you're right. It's really about starting stuff and just let it out and, and then you get better at it as you keep doing it, right? You
Yes.
start to see, yeah. We're there. We're there.
Yeah. And I truly believe, I commend you, Kevin, because starting is always the hardest part. But I do believe that if you come at it from a place of curiosity and creativity, I don't think and chase that and be judgmental of it. And as soon as you take away that judgment piece, you're not quite as worried about starting. You don't care that it's going to look weird. You're just going to say, wonder what's going to happen when I do this.
Yeah.
And then you're going to find out, right?
Yeah. It's science in some ways.
Yes.
Yeah. The host of the Human Unleashed podcast came up with this concept called Be a Scientist, which basically her name is Deirdre Sirianni. I really hope I said that right, because last time I didn't. She talked about, just try stuff and you don't know, right? So you're offering webinars. So tell us about the webinars.
Yes. So because I've had so many questions about these love journals, I am doing a series of webinars through the month of February. They're $10 each to come hang out online with me for an hour, and I'll teach you all about the tools I use and kind of specific strategies to get started and stay motivated with a love journal. And there's 3 different dates. I'm doing it February 17th, February 26th, and February 28th. They're all about an hour long. They all start at 7 p.m.
7 p.m.
So,
what, Mountain Time?
7 p.m. Mountain Time, yes.
So those that are listening on the West Coast, of course, here, that's 6 o'clock. And then that first one's coming up in 3 days, right? Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Yes, yeah.
Saturday, okay. And what do they need to bring? Just chum online and...
Come online, have some scrap paper and a pen. If you already have a journal picked out that you want to use, by all means bring that and we can get that started, and just show up with the idea that you're actually going to start something, right?
Okay.
Because that's the hardest part, showing up and starting it.
Yeah.
So if you can do that, we'll get through the rest.
Okay. So the 3 webinars in February, where's the site that you're going to, how do they link on to that?
It's on Eventbrite, so if you just go to eventbrite.ca, you can search either Sarah Golby, or they're called, I believe, Do You Want to Fall in Love All Over Again?
Okay.
You can search either one, and they should pop up for you.
Should we put that in the Facebook comment for those that want to see it?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe that. Do you have access to that there, or is it just me that does?
I'm sure I do if I open up Facebook. And...
Okay. So those out there in Facebook Live land, I'm going to give you the opportunity here to, if you have any questions for Sarah, you can ask her now. I didn't see any. Everyone was like, your sound is gone. Oh, there it is. So apparently there's something we may not have heard. Sorry about that. First time for this. Thanks for hanging in there. But if there's any questions, don't see any yet. Maybe there'll be some after. Is there anything else that we should talk about on this?
What else should we talk about? Oh, Kevin, I could go on for ages.
Well, this is your floor.
We can talk about some of the tools that I use. So
yeah,
if
let's do that.
People don't want to be in the webinars. So if you want to start a journal, definitely, obviously, the first thing is to get something to put it in. It can be a scribbler that has old science notes in it, or you can go out and buy a beautiful book that reminds you of your partner. I typically use Leuchtturm 1917s because they're just a consistent journal that I use, and I like the dotted paper because it's just enough guidance that I like it, but not enough, like I hate lined paper. It's too many rules. I don't want to follow them.
Fair.
But now that, because my man made me a homemade ring to propose with. Yeah, he made the ring.
Wow. That's awesome.
I saw someone asking about it, so I'll post a picture in the comments so
Yeah.
everybody can see. But I found a homemade journal it's bison hide is what it is, and it's held together with a strap of leather, and it's got homemade paper. And so I'm just going to kind of chronicle the next, between now and when we get married, is all going to be in this love journal.
Okay.
Because it's kind of in line with his values, right? He likes that more self-sufficient flair to it. So.
Yeah. Okay, so here's some questions. Is each page daily entries of things that are great, or are you supposed to just craft a page as you feel inspired?
You can do either.
Okay.
I would encourage you to do both, honestly, because the real gift in this is the discipline of showing up and reframing how you see your partner daily. So I would encourage you to still do the brain dump kind of, here's the 3 things you appreciate. Or if you have a male partner, what you want to focus on is things you are grateful for or appreciate, things you love about them, and things you respect about them. A female partner, you want to focus on what you appreciate and you're grateful for, what you love, and what you cherish about them. And the difference in the wording there is actually very key, because what you're dealing with there is the difference between masculine and feminine energies and just how they show up and like to interact in the world. So The Way of the Superior Man is a really good book to kind of introduce to those ideas and talk about that. But I would say do the daily discipline of writing down the 3 to 5 things. And then as you feel more inspired, make a note and put it in the journal, and make sure that that page or that story that you're thinking of, whatever you are connecting to in that moment, make sure that shows up there too. Because those are so key and probably more powerful for your partner to read in the end. Because in the end, the gift is you give this to them and they have something to reflect on, and you get to kind of bond with them over that and have a new reframe on how you show up. So the stories and the ticket stubs and the pictures and stuff like that you put in that you feel inspired by are going to be that much more fun for them to read. But the key discipline is in showing up every day and making sure you're putting something in there. So I would say combine the 2.
Okay. There's 2 more questions. Sarah, do you have separate journals for goals and work, or do you put everything together?
I have 2 journals on the go right now. So I have 3. I just lied to you. I combine work and kind of my daily goal setting and tracking in one journal. That's my quote unquote bullet journal. That's kind of my daily taskmaster. I use that to track how I'm moving towards my goals actively on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, and what I'm doing at work. If you find that you're in a profession where you may need to use your journal for legal purposes, or other people are constantly rifling through it, you may want to separate those 2. I find I don't have that problem, so I combined the 2 just so I don't have a stack of books I'm hauling around. I also have a vision journal, so that's where I go to. It's kind of a combination of an art journal. I do paintings, whatever I'm inspired by. If I find a magazine picture I like or a quote I like, I'll include it in there and talk about how that makes me feel and how it relates to my goals. So that is just kind of more of an inspirational, abstract, almost like a living vision board.
Right.
And then I have the love journal. So
the other question is your guest book going to be a love journal?
Is my guest book going to be a love journal? I have not. Do you know what? I haven't planned a single thing, but that is an amazing idea, and I love it.
Yes. That would be awesome.
I am stealing that idea. That one is coming home with me.
Hashtag take it and run. Yes. Okay. Anything else we need to talk about?
The only other thing that is really key for me that I want to make sure gets said is, if this is something, especially you more analytically minded folks, if this is something that you think is of no use to you, or it's something that you've always looked like and thought that you were incapable of, I would encourage you just to start. And even for a week, do it every day and see how it feels. And if it's going to be onerous and you can't connect to it, then let it go. This isn't the tool for you. But I would say that most of the people who have the courage to start this do keep going with it because they find so much value in it. And most of the high performers that we think of, especially in the personal development sectors and like a lot of the leaders in this world, all have some sort of journaling practice. And I don't mean necessarily love journaling. Any journaling practice you can think of, that is one powerful tool that many, many high performers use. Yeah. And so I would encourage you to really explore it in whatever capacity works best for you and your brain.
You know what I'm going to do? This just popped in my brain, Sarah. I honestly didn't plan this. Just right now, 40 minutes into our podcast, I'm going to try this for a week, and then I'm going to come back next Wednesday, and I'm going to talk about my experience.
Yes, let me know how it goes, Kevin. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm going to try and see how this works, and because I write, but I write more. I don't know, like I write more about opinion stuff. I don't write like in terms of like I'm feeling this way necessarily, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to see how this comes up, and it might be. We'll see how this works. And
yes,
yeah,
let's work on that together. I'm so excited to see what happens for you.
Yeah, it would be nice to see if other men get involved in that, but no pressure. I'm going to try it. We'll see what happens, and we'll go from there. All right.
I will say that I commend you for stepping forward to do this because it is, especially the love journal piece, is much less popular with men. But any woman who gets something like this from her man, that is one of the most powerful gifts you could ever give. I will say that right now because words are so, so powerful, especially to the feminine, that if you can take the time and dedication to daily, even in a small way, even if it's one word, 2 words, show that you care and cherish her, are ever going to lose that love. Like I promise you. Like it's the Notebook.
It's the Notebook. We're going to live the Notebook. Now I'm single because I don't have anyone to necessarily focus on, but there's things I can focus on, and there's even people I can focus on. So I'm gonna try this. We'll see what happens, and we'll go from there. Okay.
Yes.
Yay! You got a converter right in this.
Good. As long as I reach one person, that's all I ask for.
There you go. Success happened. How do those that are not following you follow you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am on Facebook. It's Sarah Golby. I also have a blog, and I will preface that with I am a very infrequent blogger, simply because I thrive in uncertainty, and I sometimes resent when I'm held to schedules. So it is something that I am working on. But my blog can be found at sarahleona.ca. So SARAHLEONA.ca. And I'm also on Instagram, and that's sgolbs, SGOLBS. Okay. So you can find me in all of those places.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining us on the first ever interview on Facebook Live. It was a great success. People actually talked. This actually kind of worked. So I feel really good about that. But there will be also the audio on Spreaker.com that will be uploaded shortly. You can also follow on SoundCloud, Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter, KVULE. Spreaker, as I said, subscribe on YouTube. This podcast will go on YouTube. And again, as a reminder, and I kind of talked about this, I'm going through phase 2. For those who don't know, I've been through phase 1. I'm actually just past the 4-year anniversary of doing this podcast. And there's been some ups and downs for some personal reasons, but we're going through phase 2. We're going to be leveling up here with some new stuff. And we'll see what happens. I'm really kind of excited and scared at the same time, if that makes any sense. I'm scared. Is that a site? I can't. I don't know. But we'll be back for sure next Wednesday with another podcast. I don't know what the topic is. It might just be me sitting here and chatting, but who knows? There's lots going on. We're working on stuff. I'm really excited. Thanks everyone for participating. If you do like this, please share it with your friends, and even if you're enemies, if you find my voice grating, you can just share it with them and say, "Here, deal with this voice. You have to hear that voice." No. But share it. Tell your friends about this. Tell your friends about the webinar. And we will talk to you all very soon. Bye for now.